Hello everyone and welcome to Definite Hearing. I really want to change definite hearing to definitely not hearing because I'm so hard of hearing. I've been wearing hearing aids since I was 4 months old, and when I picked this brand for this channel, it was a while ago. What do you think? Should I change the name? Let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. The vast majority of people who watch my videos do not subscribe. You can help me out a ton if you subscribe, so please hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for your support. Hello everyone, I'm Emily. Let's dive into today's video topic, and this is patient rights. Today, I'm going to talk about your rights as a patient, especially being hard of hearing and going to audiologists and/or ear, nose, and throat doctors. Unfortunately, this video was inspired by a recent poor experience that I had, and I will share that at the end of this video. If you've ever left an appointment feeling confused, unsure, and rushed, or you've just nodded along and realized you didn't understand anything, this video is for you. Item number 1 is you have the right to communication access. This means that you deserve to understand what your healthcare provider is telling you. So what does communication access look like for you? You have a right to this. Effective communication for a hard of hearing person can look like this. The provider needs to face you when they speak. The provider can rephrase or restate important information. The provider can give you written instructions. It honestly blows my mind that they don't do this more. Like, today we are performing an audiogram. Here's what to expect. Just like a little laminated one-pager that could help. And last but not least, effective communication can include captions or live transcription. When you ask for effective communication as a hard of hearing person, you're not asking for a favor, you're asking for them to fulfill a requirement. Effective communication is an accessibility requirement that is well within your patient rights. If you went to an appointment and you come out not understanding what happened, the appointment didn't actually work. You did not receive the care you were seeking. Okay, item number 2. As a patient, you can ask your provider to repeat themselves as many times as you need. Forget how many different ways you ask them to repeat themselves. If you don't understand what your provider is telling you, just continue to talk with them and ask questions until you understand. You can totally say, "Can you repeat that? Can you say that another way? I didn't catch that. Can you face me?" Even if you've already asked once, twice, or 3 times, asking them to repeat themselves can feel totally awkward, especially if the appointment is running behind, whether or not that's your provider's fault or your fault. Regardless, you paid for this appointment, you deserve the right to the information and to understand what you're being told. Your understanding means more than their schedule. Item number 3, you have a right to your audiogram and test results that are taken in your appointment. This cannot be stated enough, and sometimes people are surprised by this. You should not be surprised by this. In fact, every appointment that you go into, I recommend asking for a copy of your test results, regardless of the kind of test that you're having done at your appointment. Your audiogram belongs to you. Your test results belong to you. They take these tests to benefit you. You deserve the results. Many times you just have to ask for them. You can ask for a printed copy, a digital copy, and you have access to the full report, not just a summary. You do not need to buy hearing aids to get your audiogram, and you don't need to justify why you want it. This is the hardest one for me. I usually feel like I have to justify why I want my records, and sometimes it's a little awkward, but I do it anyway. You can take your medical records anywhere you want. They are yours. So this leads me to point number 4. You can ask what all your options are, not just one. This means if you have a copy of your records, you can go get a second opinion elsewhere. Yes, doctors and referrals sometimes work together, but they rarely talk to each other unless you explicitly ask them to due to HIPAA requirements. There's a false notion in receiving medical care in the United States that you can't go get a second opinion because you feel bad or it's awkward or your current provider might think you don't trust them. We just need to get over that. We are seeking the best care, and a second opinion can either validate or inform us on better options. If you are told by your provider, this is what you need, you can ask additional questions to increase your understanding. This is well within your patient rights. You can ask, are there different technology levels? You can ask, what happens if I wait? And you can also ask, what happens if I don't do this? Informed consent means that you understand the choices that you're making as a result of your appointment, not just recommendations. Receiving more information can help you act more confidently. So don't hesitate to ask additional questions to increase your understanding. I've heard of so many people that invest in hearing devices that maybe they feel like aren't their favorite. This is a shame, especially with how much devices cost. It is well within your rights to say, I need time. You especially need time when you are trying new devices. You do not have to decide what treatment you want on the spot. You can say, I want to think about this. I want to research this. I want another opinion, especially when hearing care is a life-changing emotional experience. Now, caveat here, I'm not a licensed medical professional, and I always encourage you to consult your medical professionals before making any health decisions. If your provider recommends that you take action sooner rather than later, their advice 100% trumps what I'm saying in this video. I especially want to emphasize that if you are experiencing a sudden loss of hearing, this is a serious medical issue and needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Item number 6, last but not least, it is well within your patient rights to bring support to your appointment. This support can look like a friend, a family member, or someone who helps you process information. I definitely have brought my husband along to appointments and have found in some cases he's been really helpful. He has caught things maybe I didn't hear or understand. I think it's especially important to bring a support individual to your appointment if you commonly miss details, struggle with understanding speech clearly, or you have a lot of anxiety at doctor's appointments. Bringing along an extra pair of ears isn't cheating, it's smart. So in conclusion, just because you have a hearing loss, this does not mean that you should walk out of doctor's appointments feeling confused or like you just paid for something with no answers. You deserve clear communication, respect, time, and access to your own information and test results. Thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this video. I want to share the experience that inspired this video. I received an opinion that my daughter's speech was sounding delayed. She's almost 2 years old. It was recommended that I take her to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. So I called and scheduled an appointment. Per the initial referral, I called for an appointment and explicitly stated that I wanted a tympanometry measurement or a TIMP measurement to see how my daughter's eardrum was moving. I went to the appointment. The assistant took the TIMP measurement a couple times. She said, I'm going to go print out the results, talk with the doctor, and I'll be back. They came back into the room, performed the test probably at least once or twice again. At this point, as a mom, I'm thinking, wow, something must be wrong. The NP looked in my daughter's ears and she said, your daughter's ears look fine. If you still have concerns in a couple months, come back. And I said, okay. And then per my patient rights, I requested a copy of the TIMP measurement. Even when I had walked into the appointment, I told the assistant that's what we were there for. It was so strange because the NP hesitated, the assistant hesitated, and then I said, yeah, like a copy of the test you just took, I just want those results, because clearly you took it at least 4 times. And they said, oh, well, the results aren't accurate. I was like, what do you mean the results aren't accurate? What are you going to compare her to in a couple, like if we come back in a couple months, you're telling me that the tests you just took, those results are what you're going to compare her to? That's not okay with me. Like, I need an accurate test. I came here today for an accurate test. And they kind of talked amongst themselves and they said, well, we have another device down the hall that we can use. Okay, well, like, go get it. Or like, let's use the device that works. This is what I came for. I didn't say that out loud, but I definitely was thinking that. And so we walked down the hall, they performed the test, and I was given a printout. And they said, okay, just come out this door and this lady will collect your insurance information. I said, wait, like this, like I just already gave my insurance information. I'm confused. And then they explained to me, oh, the ear, nose, and throat doctor is separate from the audiologist office. Well, I had no like realization of that, because the office, like you go in and it's just a maze. And then all of a sudden I was just in another exam room in an office. There was an audiology booth there, but for me, it's very normal for ENTs and audiologists to work together. So I had no idea I was in a different provider's office. So I looked at the printout of the TIMP measurement that they had given me, and I realized there was a different logo up there. It was a different company and provider. And I said, well, I don't even know if you guys are in network. And so I gave my information and they said, we'll bill for the test, we'll bill for the office visit, and we'll get it figured out. And I was like, what? And so long story short, I talked with the ear, nose, and throat clinic and I received my money back for the consult because they didn't give me any information. They could not perform the tests that I walked in for. And I will be dealing with the audiology office to pay for that test that they performed unknowingly to me without my consent, like, because they're providers that I did not sign up with. So it was very bizarre, very weird. And I had an unfortunate experience. So that experience with my daughter, just trying to help advocate for her, making sure she's getting the right care, I was just reminded of how important patient rights are. If I would not have requested the copy of the TIMP measurement, I do not know what they would have put in her file. It would not have been accurate. And if we would have come back, like if we do go back in a couple months, can't imagine we will, I don't know what we would measure against, because they clearly stated that the information that they had received from the test was inaccurate. Their device did not seem to be working properly. So really unfortunate. I really hope this is a rare circumstance that a doctor does not fuss that their equipment is not working properly. But with hearing, especially with a young child who's developing speech, you have a certain time frame where you have to take time to receive the care. So for example, if my daughter did have fluid in her ears and she needed tubes and it was due to a speech delay rather than infection, they would watch her, they would start a clock for like 6 weeks. And at the rate that this ENT was going, they would have started that 6 weeks in 2 months, if that was the case. And so her care would be delayed, because if I didn't know my patient rights or her patient rights, I hope it helps you understand your patient rights and that you deserve to understand and know what's going on in your medical appointment so that you can make informed, wise decisions and receive the care that you deserve. Do you have any questions for me? If so, I would love to hear them in the comments below. And I hope that you have happy, healthy doctor's appointments in the future. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks so much for your support. Stay strong, stay amazing, and have a great day.